that. Good morning. And it's good to stand before you on the Lord's Sabbath day. You know, before we get in this lesson, I want to say to the people, you know, that I get so many calls about this Supreme Court ruling. Two things I want to say. First thing is the Lord said they're going to take iniquity and frame it with a law. So we ain't supposed to be surprised about that. And the second thing is the Lord said he made the man a free agent. He said, I set before you life and death. Choose life and live. So God made them free agent. If they want to choose death, that's on them. You understand? I don't have no quarrel with it. But in the meantime, they're not the only one that chooses death. Everybody that breaks God's commandments have chosen death too. So let's be even-handed by this. If you're going to be equally nice, you got to be equally nasty. It's all that simple. So I don't want to hear no more calling to me. Because the quarrel is not with me. The quarrel is with God, and don't nobody have to make his argument. He's quite capable of doing it himself. All right? It's like my daughter used to say when she was a child, what does Dad, if you do this here, I eat all my food. Like, if you don't eat it, you're going to starve, not me. Right. So this is the whole thing in a nutshell, sisters and brothers. You know, people getting excited about nothing. Like a person said somebody accused me of something, and I told him, I said, the only time when I get upset when somebody accused me of something is when they are right. You understand? And not because they made the acquisition, it's because I'm guilty. So, you know, you don't, you know, that's God can judge people. All you do is keep your house in order, and everything will be in order. Now, we're going to get to this lesson, sisters and brothers. A lot of the young people don't know about it because you wasn't around in the early days. But there used to be an argument that we was going to be enslaved in America for 400 years. And when the 400 years are up, then we going to, you know, the Lord's going to deliver us. But the only problem is they went and found out, they read what the book is written in Genesis about the 400 years. So I put this lesson together, sisters and brothers. This lesson is actually, the title is a question. The 400 years of captivity. Is it now or in the past? The 400 years of captivity, is it now or in the past? In the old days, all Israelites thought they had, well, with 400 years. And then when they come around, when the Muslims jumped up with it about the 400 years, they're all on the same line. But what they didn't understand is Mr. Pooh took that with him because he was an Israelite. You understand? That became a Muslim. So the Muslims talking about 400 years, 400 years. Ain't nobody talking about it right now, but they got it out of Genesis, and we're going to have a look at it, sisters and brothers. I was always puzzled because when when the Lord told Abraham about how his seed going to be in captive and evil treated, he put limits on it. And we're going to examine this. But first, let's go and listen to this conversation that God had with Abraham. Let's go into Genesis, the 15th chapter. Because when you put false knowledge on the table, then people start looking for the real knowledge. Therefore, you're never enlightened. You're never informed. And this was a big thing here. Everybody 400 years. I mean, everybody was looking for it. And I think it was supposed to have been up in 95. Was it 95 or 79, rather? Because I remember who was daddy? Canaan. Yeah, I know him too. I remember when Hoover was little before he got old enough to get fired. His daddy used to carry a sign. I think it was I forgot the word, but I think it was 79, something like that. But what happened is all the Israelites bought properties and run off on the farm so we can weather the great tribulation. I always said, what do you think now? You got a bunch of us down on the farm with plenty of food. The whole world is starving, and they find out about us. What they going to say? Well, y'all go ahead on and eat your field. We ain't going to come get you. They're going to come and take you down. I always took issue with it. And when Brother Stein wanted property, I started a fund drive so he can get a farm like everybody else, not because I believed in the concept, it's because he was so obsessed with it for a moment, I wanted to get the property so he can get back to teaching that knowledge that he was teaching me. But sisters and brothers, I always understood this. I just didn't say nothing, but the whole thing is, we're going to look at this because the Lord put dates. He put people that let you know that this thing here can be qualified. We're going to start at verse 1. Genesis the 15th chapter, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. Genesis 15 and 1. Because this was a big thing with the Israelites in the early days. Now, if you ain't been around a minute, you don't know about it. But still it's time for you to know about it, because sooner or later, some old Israelite or either some Muslim going to come up and talk to you about 400 years. I look at this thing, sisters and brothers, and we're going to find out the captivity didn't start here. Somewhere in this brother's mind, he thought that the only Israelites in the creation was right here in the United States of America, which puzzled me, you understand? Because when the Lord called the captivity, once he got away from Egypt, he didn't talk about a nation. He talked about all nations. But let's look at this first. Let's start at 15 and 1. Go ahead and read.
After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward.
Go ahead.
And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me? Seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir.
So now when the Lord told him he was going to be his exceeding reward, he wanted to know, look, I don't have a child, and I'm old, so what you going to give me? I got this stranger in my house that's going to be my heir. But then the Lord talked to him. Go ahead and read.
And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir.
In other words, this ain't your heir. You're going to have a son that's going to be your heir. Go ahead and read.
And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars if thou be able to number them.
Go ahead.
And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be.
He said, now I want you to look at the stars of heaven. Can you number them? So shall your seed be. That's what the thing is. When David tried to number Israel, Joab wouldn't go through with it, but he just brought him a number. And then the Lord killed 70,000 Israelites because of that move. It was a little more deeper than that, but he used that because he had told Abraham in the beginning, look at the stars. Can you count the number of stars out there? No, that's where your seed's going to be. You can't count. Go ahead and read.
6. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness.
Of course he did. Go ahead and read.
And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees, to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it?
He said, I brought you out. And so the Lord had him kill animals and spread parts around. Then he put him in a deep sleep and talked to him. So we're going to skip down to verse 12. Verse 12, and go ahead.
And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him.
Go ahead.
And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
First thing is, you look at this now, this is a land, not many lands, that is not theirs, and they shall be afflicted 400 years. Go ahead and read.
And also that nation.
And also that nation, not those nations. That as in one. Go ahead and read.
Whom they shall serve, will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance.
Now he said, I'm going to judge them. And then I'm going to bring Israel out with great substance. That's why when Israel come out of Egypt, sisters and brothers, they robbed the Egyptians. But go ahead and read.
And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation, they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
Now, this is what everybody overlooks, sisters and brothers. The 4th generation. From where? From Abraham, sisters and brothers. Then again, too, the Lord had something going on with the Amorite. the Lord give everybody a time to get it right. So apparently the Amorites, time hadn't run out for them to get it right. So now they couldn't go to the land because the first thing they was going to deal with, the land they were going to deal with, sisters and brothers, was the land of the Amorite. But he said in the 4th generation. Now let's go and look at this time that Israel came out of Egypt. Let's go into Exodus the 12th chapter. Exodus the 12th chapter. Because too many times, sisters and brothers, we read a few things and then we get off into sound bites, just like the false prophets. So what's the difference? What is the difference? If you're going to lie, a lie is a lie. I don't care whose mouth it came out of or what flavor it is. Exodus 12:1. Go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
Go ahead.
Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take of them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house.
Now, this is when the Lord is getting ready to bring them out of this great captivity, because they was under chattel slavery and the Egyptians were treating them real bad, sisters and brothers. So I said, well, he wants you to take a lamb, because this lamb is what's going to spring you. Skip down to verse 6 and go ahead.
And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
And you're going to keep it up till the 14th. You got to put it up on the 10th and then keep it up till the 14th. Couldn't kill it the day before. Go ahead and read.
And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper door posts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it.
Now, this lamb, you're going to take his blood and put it over the doorpost. So why is it that the blood is going to be over there? Skip down to verse 11. Verse 11 and go ahead.
And thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand.
Go ahead.
And ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover.
Go ahead.
For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord.
He says, now, I want you to put this blood, because I'm going to come to Egypt, and I'm going to kill the firstborn in every house, man and beast. But when I see the blood, go ahead and read.
And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt.
You know there's something missing there? He didn't say when I see Israel. He said when I see the blood, I'm going to pass over you. That's a great message there, sisters and brothers. Now, the book tells you there was not a house in Egypt, I'm talking among the Egyptians, that wasn't dead. But what if the Egyptians had put the blood over the doorpost? Their sins would have been passed over too. See, you got to look. See, you have to read what the Lord is writing. Did he tell you something else too? You are saved or delivered according to your faith. If you believe God, you put the blood over. If you didn't have no faith and didn't believe it, oh, I don't believe that. Then you'd have died. This is the equation that the Lord have worked on from day one, sisters and brothers. Just want you to understand what you're reading here. Skip down to verse 29. Verse 29. And go ahead.
And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt. From the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne.
Go ahead.
Unto the firstborn of the captivity that was in the dungeon. And all the firstborn of cattle.
I mean, and the Lord did exactly what he said. Go ahead and read.
And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians. And there was a great cry in Egypt.
Go ahead.
For there was not a house where there was not one dead.
He said, look, there was a great cry, and there was not a house and not one dead, you know. So they didn't use the blood, so he killed like he said he's going to kill. Go ahead and read.
And he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, Rise up and get you forth from among my people.
Go ahead.
Both ye and the children of Israel, and go, serve the Lord as ye have said. Also take your flocks and your herds as ye have said, and be gone, and bless me also.
Go ahead.
And the Egyptians were urging upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste. But they said, we be all dead men.
So they be all dead men, because God got their attention when he killed all them babies. So skip down to verse 40. Verse 40 and go ahead.
Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years.
They're 430. So that 30 years used to be used to make the argument. See, if God wanted to say 430, he would have said 430. Now, we're going to show you, sisters and brothers, it didn't get to 500. It got to 400. And so it said 430, and that's the time that they was in Egypt. So we're going to make the argument. Go ahead and read.
41. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day it came to pass, that all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt.
Okay, so now that same day, 430 years, the host of the Lord, all the Israelites left Egypt. Not one was left. That's why I know when the Lord brings us back this last time, sisters and brothers, he is not going to leave one Israelite nowhere and no land. That's why I tell people try to argue, well, ain't no Israelite, well, ain't no Jew. I said, don't make no difference. You're going to get delivered anyway. He's going to get you to the wilderness. You might not get out of it, but you're going to get out of the nation. I mean, everyone. He ain't going to leave one baby hid under a rock on the east side of nowhere. Because you look at the way the Lord operates. So now, we're going to break this thing down, sisters and brothers. We're going to examine this thing and see what this really is talking about and what time. Now, let's go back to Genesis and put your marker in Genesis, the 15th chapter. We're going to be in and out of it until we break this thing down and get some understanding. Because that's why the Lord got all this big book here. So you can read it, sisters and brothers. Everybody want to talk about what thus said the Lord, but they don't want to read it. Sooner or later, you're going to have to read. We're going to start at verse 13. Genesis 15 and verse 13. Genesis 15 and 13. Okay, go ahead.
And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
Now he said that to Abram. Now let's look at it. 400 years he's going to do it. Now let's look at a land where they was afflicted. Keep your marker here, because we're coming back. Let's go in the 105th chapter of Psalms. Psalms 105. Because there's a lot to learn, sisters and brothers, if you just read this book. And then you don't worry about stuff that happened that man is doing. Because you know the Lord is the end game. That's why when people come to me, I'm going to tell you about the New World Order. I said the New World Order is going to start when them heavens roll back like a scroll. Don't bring me nothing from man. Everything man did has fallen, has failed. You don't know no New World Order. Psalm 105, let's start at verse 23. 105 and verse 23. Go ahead.
Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham.
Israel and Jacob, the same one, because the Lord changed Jacob's name to Israel, and he said they dwell in the land of Ham. Why it called the land of Ham? Because Egypt is Mizraim. That's one of Ham's sons, sisters and brothers. This is a great big mystery that's gone by us too. All of Ham's children are black. And in order for Moses to pass for Egyptian, the Pharaoh's son-in-law, what color should he have to be? Black. It don't take no rocket science. All you do is take a little knowledge. That's all. World don't have to be this stupid. But we love to be uninformed. Well, what matters does it, what difference does it make? It's in the book. I'm going to deal with it. Brother asked me one time, why do you think that we're Israelite? Because it's in the book. If it taught to somebody else was Israelite, then I teach that too. I don't have no personal dog in this fight. I am a messenger. You know what a messenger is? The one that gets the message from somebody else and passes it on to somebody else. Nothing originates with me. So I don't have a dog. That's why I don't get mad. When he said men can marry me, I ain't mad. Women can marry me, I ain't mad. Why ain't you mad? Because the quarrel is with God and he know what to do with them. My job is trying to keep me straight. Think about it. What verse?
24.
Go ahead.
And he increased his people greatly and made them stronger than his enemies.
Go ahead.
He turned their heart to hate his people to deal subtly with his servants.
So the Lord turned their heart to hate his people. Go ahead and read.
He sent Moses, his servant, and Aaron, whom he had chosen. They showed signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham.
So when he sent Moses and Aaron down there, they started to show signs and wonders. You know how he said, in the land of Ham? Because your first captives was Hamites, look just like you. Right. We get over here, well, this old white man, some old white devil. I'm going to tell you something. I thank God he put me among this Gentile. Because Ham is still selling us over there. Still killing us. Look at the Janjaweed. Look what's going on in the Sudan. They ain't killing people that look like them. Look what happened with the Hutu and the Tutsis. Them aware, you know, they got a bigger joke. It's Israel and Ham. There ain't nobody come over there and to a strange continent like Africa and went on a strange land and took some strange people captive. They bought you like a piece, like you've been sold a lot of times. And we're going to show you that. But skip down to verse 36 and read it.
He smote also the firstborn in their land, the chief of all their strength.
And we read that, didn't we? He smote all of them in the land, the firstborn. Skip down to verse 38 and go ahead.
Egypt was glad when they departed.
Yes, sir.
For the fear of them fell upon them.
And it's going to happen in our day when it's time to go. The Lord can put some fear on the people, man. They're going to tell you, getting out of here, and we're going to give you the transportation.
Right.
What about my pastor? Don't need it. Just go.
Right.
All I got to do is see what happened yesterday, and that's going to tell me what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, that's one thing Paul said. All the things that happened to Israel, so that's an example for us. The good and the bad. So we got to look for it. Skip down to verse 42 and go ahead.
For he remembered his holy promise and Abraham his servant.
Now you remember what he promised Abraham. Go ahead and read.
And he brought forth his people with joy and his chosen with gladness.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
And gave them the lands of the heathen, and they inherited the labor of the people.
So when they come in, when they knocked off these Amorites, they got cities and everything intact. Crops already planted. They didn't even have to go ahead and go to work right away. But the Lord told him when that was going to happen, sisters and brothers. He said, you're going to go in there and you're going to knock off the Amorites to have a time to come. But he told Abraham, what generation? Let's go back and see. We're going to do it a verse at a time, a couple of verses. Let's go back to Genesis, the 15th chapter. Because I want you to read this because people love to fabricate. People, well, sometimes, brother, you said in your lesson, I should quote it, man. I am very careful of what I say in my lesson because you can't get more careful than reading it. You ain't going to bring me something I said that ain't in the book. But like I said, I don't have no dog in this fight. I'm just trying to survive it myself. Verse 14, go ahead. 14. Genesis 15, 14. And we're going to start reading at verse 14. Okay. Okay.
All right. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance.
So that nation, he's going to judge. He said, and afterward they're going to come out with great substance. Go ahead and read.
And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age.
Go ahead.
But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again.
But in the fourth generation, they're going to come here again. Now, we're going to read the second half of this verse later, you know, like the preachers do. But we're going to check these generations out. Keep the spot here. He said, in the fourth generation, didn't he? From Abraham. That's what he was talking about. Now, let's go now into Matthew, the first chapter. Matthew chapter 1. Because nothing beat reading the book, sisters and brothers. That kills everything. That's why you can tell when somebody lying on the Lord, they're just talking and the Lord said, then you pull up a Bible, everybody goes silent. Then all of a sudden they start drifting off because they know you finna settle this. If you're going to talk out of the book, read the book. It's all that simple. It's all that simple. Verse 1, go ahead.
The book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham.
Yes, sir, because he come out of the lineage of David and out of the lineage of Abraham. But we ain't going to do all that lineage. Skip down to verse 17, and let's look at how he got to, how much time was spent from Abraham to him. Go ahead and read.
So all the generations from Abraham to David were 14 generations.
So from Abraham, the son, the father of Jesus, according to the lineage, to David, the father of Jesus, was 14 generations, wasn't it? We already expanded 4 generations. We gone, ain't we? We got 10 generations beyond, but keep reading.
And from David unto the carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations.
14 and 14 is what?
28.
Go ahead and read.
And from the carrying away into Babylon unto Christ are 14 generations.
We did it again. How many generations is that? 42 generations. So that's a long ways from the 4th generation, ain't it? So that all of a sudden, that took that clean out of the equation, didn't it? Mm-hmm. The Lord told Abraham they're going to come back to this land in the 4th generation. So that let them know we ain't in the lane. 42 generations is when Jesus showed up. I wonder how many more generations are lopped off by this time. You see what I'm saying? Why are you saying, well, we 400 years up? That's apparently you don't understand something. It got nothing to do with this generation. But let's go back now to Genesis, the 15th chapter. And we're going to read that second half of that 16th verse. Okay, read it.
For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
He said now he's going to come back in his place in 4 generations, for the iniquity of the Amorites are not yet full. In other words, he gave him some more time. Now let's see who were the first people that Israel knocked off when they got ready to go in the land, since they've been in the wilderness. Let's go into Numbers, the 21st chapter. See, this is how you break things down a piece at a time. So when people try to argue with you, you just say, what's this mean? What that mean? And you have to keep looking at them. Because if you turn your eyes away, they're going to disappear. That's what happens when people find out you got some knowledge. I don't argue the Bible. That's because you don't know nothing. If you knew something, I couldn't get away from you. I see people always talking to the Lord this and Lord that. Then you start reading, well, say, I don't argue the Bible. Well, why are you talking then? Just shut up. Numbers 21, we're going to start at verse 10. Numbers 21, and we're going to start reading at verse 10. Okay, go ahead.
And the children of Israel set forward and pitched in Oboth. And they sojourned from Oboth and pitched in Ijaabarim in the wilderness, which is before Moab, toward the sun rising. And from thence they removed and pitched in the valley of Zered. And thence they removed and pitched on the other side of Arnon, which is in the wilderness that cometh out of the coast of the Amorites.
Now, that's how you know, see, the Lord had Israel moving around in the wilderness. So now they done got close to the Amorites. Go ahead and read.
For Arnon is the border of Moab, between Moab and the Amorites.
So now, they ain't caught there in between Moab and Amorite. So now, they sent a request. Let us pass through your land. Skip down to verse 21. Verse 21, go ahead.
And from Bamoth in the valley, that is...
verse 21.
21. And Israel sent messengers in Sihon, king of the Amorites, saying, Let me pass through thy land. We will not turn into the fields or into the vineyards.
See, the Lord let you bring stuff on yourself, right? So they sent messengers and said, look now, let us pass through your land. We ain't going to touch your fields. We ain't going to touch your vineyards. Go ahead and read.
We will not drink of the waters of the well, but we will go along by the king's highway until we be past thy borders.
We're not even going to drink water out of your well. We just want to pass peaceably. And what happened? Go ahead and read.
And Sihon would not suffer Israel to pass through his border. But Sihon gathered all his people together and went out against Israel into the wilderness. And he came to Jahaz and fought against Israel.
So the Lord, sometime, he check you out. So they're going to come out and fight. All they had to do was say, okay. Then the Lord would have had to leave them alone. Because when you talk about killing Israel, during the time of Ahab put on sackcloth and went soft before the Lord. And he said, okay then, I'm going to pass, I'm going to let him die. I'm going to do what I'm going to do later on. But he survived it. Same thing about Nineveh. He's telling he's going to destroy Nineveh. But when everybody repented, the Lord said, okay then, I ain't going to kill him now. Jonah got mad. But that's what happened when you repent. The Lord, even though you got something coming, if you come humbly before the Lord and humble yourself, he give you a break. You got a chance to fix it. But if you don't fix it, then he's going to bring that drummer that he talked to you 25 years ago. Go ahead and read what verse?
24. And Israel smote him with the edge of the sword and possessed his land from Arnon unto Jabbok, even unto the children of Ammon.
Go ahead.
For the border of the children of Ammon was strong. And Israel took all these cities, and Israel dwelt in all the cities of the Amorites, in Heshbon, and in all the villages thereof.
Didn't the Lord say it's going to come in the fourth generation? But the Amorites have some iniquity to fulfill, so their time ran out. So what did Israel? The first one they knocked off was the Amorites, and took over all of their cities. Where's the Amorites nowadays? Do you know what Amorites are? Let's go into Amos, the 2nd chapter. Amos chapter 2. See, we make all kind of statements, and the only reason we can get away with it, sisters and brothers, because everybody else is ignorant. But sooner or later, the Lord's going to enlighten somebody. And the lie can last for 20 years, and when the truth comes, it won't last 2 more minutes. It's all that simple. So no matter how long you run, when I catch up with you, you finished. That's the way the Lord operates. Amos, the 2nd chapter, and we're going to start at verse 6. Okay, go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Israel and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof. Oh, you mean that the Lord, Israel ain't pure? That's what the brothers will have you think nowadays. Go ahead and read. Because they sold the righteous for silver and the poor for a pair of shoes.
And who do you think they were selling? Their own people mostly. Well, who are the righteous, sisters and brothers? So the Lord always like to give you what you put out there. Skip down to verse 9 and go ahead.
Yet destroyed I the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of the cedars, and he was strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit from above and his roots from beneath.
Now, who destroyed the Amorites for Israel? The Lord did. He put it in their mind and wouldn't let that king say, okay, pass on through. No, we're going to come out and go to war with you. The Lord orchestrated that whole thing. So he said, I destroyed them. Go ahead and read.
Also I brought you up from the land of Egypt and led you 40 years through the wilderness to possess the land of the Amorite. So
that cosigns it, don't it? 4th generation, and I'm going to give you the land of the Amorite. And this is what people don't pay no attention. But then you get the disciple Stephen, that they got stoned to death. He co-signed this same thing here. It's when he was out disputing with some Israelites, and they couldn't deal with him, so they brought false charges against him. They fought him before the elders. And then they wanted to know, is this true? Let's go into Acts, the 7th chapter. He's going to co-sign this thing, sisters and brothers. Acts chapter 7. So there's too much stuff in here for us to find out about than just to get a line and run with it.